Thank you very much for being here. We are talking about building the right tech to raise for my my voice. Um, my first career was 10 years investment banking and private equity, which was an interesting way of learning about business. And then I spent the last 10 years building technology businesses. My main business, HelpBnk Ventures, basically works with founders, early stage entrepreneurs to build technology through that journey. It'd be great to hear what stage you have with your tech business. So feel free to put that in the chat. But let's get into the main bit of it. What do founders do wrong? And this is something you see a lot. So the aim of today is to understand how do we build technology to help raise investment. But let's look at how we build technology in the first place. And what I see a lot of people doing is building product based on the wrong assumptions, really not talking to the target audience, and have a building that will come strategy, but also the wrong tech for the wrong stage. So I'll explain a bit more on those. Firstly, and this is what I call the highway of clients. This is what I see a lot of people doing. Over here are all the clients in the world, all the clients that you want to have for your business. The green circle is effectively, it's you, it's your business. That green circle starts small because you start small, you're building your product, you're building technology. Very rarely do people pop across and speak to their clients, potential clients, to find out if they're doing the right thing. What they'll tend to do is they spend all their time here, and then when they finish the launch, but nobody will know about them. And then they'll move from a product-focused business to a marketing-focused business. So strategy A, they'll try and throw some Facebook ads and whatever they can to try and get customers. When you're thinking about building product to raise investment, this is not what investors want to see. What they want to see is you de-risking that process from the word go. So the ideal process is from idea stage, you go and speak to your audience, right? The potential clients. Ideally, you find a strategic partner, this lovely gatekeeper here, somebody who's already got access to the audience that you want to speak with. Those people will effectively de-risk your launch, because if you can get them on board, they can help shape your product. But also when you do launch, you've already got an early adopter audience. Investors love seeing that because you're de-risking the product build, but also de-risking the launch. I'll talk a bit more about that. Excuse me. Another thing that's key is everybody knows about product market fit. But again, when thinking about the product that we're building and talking to investors, what people really want to understand is also what the channels are and the model. So the credit for this goes to Brian Balfour, and I encourage you to read his work on this, because it's very important. If you can get all four of those working, product, market, channel, model, fit, you'll be, instead of pushing a boulder up the hill with your business, you'll be sprinting down the hill trying to keep up with that boulder. If that's a good analogy, I don't know, but let's go with it. A channel is the way you sell. So for example, it could be Facebook ads, creating a funnel through Facebook ads that automatically convert somebody into a paying customer. Or it could be enterprise sales, picking up the phone and phoning people up. The model is the price point. So for example, when you're looking at this, it's very important to think, is the channel I'm using suitable for the model I'm using? I'll give you an example. One of our clients in the legal tech space, they were doing a fantastic product, really, really tons of value. They were looking to charge £30 a month. The channel they were looking to use was enterprise sales, pick up the phone. Now you can imagine how many phone calls do you need to do to get to a point where you've spoken to somebody, to get to a point where you've booked a demo, to get to a point where you have a customer. And at £29 a month, that just didn't make any sense, because effectively your return on investment will probably be a year by the time you paid back that effort to get that customer. So what would be much better for that customer is either to create a funnel, automated funnel, say through Facebook or LinkedIn, and that automatically converts leads into customers. But we would have had to change the product to be really self-service. But that product was not self-service. It had to be set up the way it was structured. Therefore, what we did is we actually increased the model. So we increased the price point from that 29 per month to 300 per month, which sounds like a crazy increase. But he hadn't tested the price point with the market. And what we did is we increased the perceived value of the product moved it around a little bit in the market, so that it was a higher value point. And that pricing worked very well. We stuck with enterprise sales, and it made a lot of sense. Hopefully that makes sense on that one. But I really encourage you to take a look at that as part of your own business and your startup. How can you improve on those? When you're looking to build tech, again, to raise investment, and I've done this many times, and just showing people that you've got this process, really showing investors really helps with fundraising. I'll talk about a couple of startups I've raised for my businesses. So ideal process is sketch, and I'll ask a lot of questions, then get to mock-up stage to validate with 5 people. I explain why that's important. Then pre-sell to strategic partners, and only get the funding you need to go from this phase to the next phase. So sketching. This slide may look absolutely ridiculous, but it is something that people skip. Sketching is really important, whether you're at idea stage or you've got an MVP ready, or even if you're a business looking to innovate a little bit. This is an ideal stage to really focus in on what the customers want versus agonizing over details. So for example, this one here, this is actually from a big company, big project management company called Basecamp. And they were getting a lot of requests for a calendar function. Now, they knew that building a proper calendar function would take about 6 months of development because there's a lot of dependencies. So, but they didn't have the appetite internally to build a calendar, to spend 6 months on building something they didn't think that would add that much value. But when they sketched the ideas that people were talking about and did some user interviews, what they realized is people didn't actually want a calendar function. They wanted a scheduling function. When are the availability in my diary? So quite a different thing. And that is a month worth of work, not 6 months. So sketching is a really important part to start doing trial and error, experimenting, and getting to know what people actually want. Okay, so if I go to the next stage, I call this agile innovation. This is building on that. And I was presenting this to portfolio companies of a VC, and we literally got them doing this in the room. When you're looking to innovate, what you need to do is have a backlog of goals and major functions and sketch and test for winners. So select a day, half a day, whatever it is, workshop what's going to be the highest leverage features that you can focus on, sketch that out, and then test. Go and speak to 5 people. And those 5 people, there's been some studies that show this, getting feedback from just 5 people will give you 80% of the feedback you would have gotten from building the thing and launching it. So if you just imagine that, you could spend 3 months building a feature to launch it, to get feedback, or you can literally sketch it and do some proper user research and you get 80% of the feedback. So what we did with the VC portfolio companies is we ran this. So plan, workshop, sketch, test, and then you reflect and you adjust, and then you go again. So in that day, they went out 3 times to speak to potential users. They went outside their comfort zone and spoke to potential users, and it really transformed what they were building from the first iteration to the third. Massive difference, and they didn't waste any time or money. Again, investors like to see that. So how do you get feedback? Now, people use that a lot as an excuse. They don't want to speak to individuals. They're scared. Yeah, they may be introverted, or maybe they don't want their idea criticized, or maybe they don't know how to. There's 2 ways as I see it. One is I'm calling qualitative, but it's more about doing one-on-one conversations. So it can be in person or over a video call. What you can do is use this very good tool, Marvel Pop Prototype, where you can take photos of your sketches and you can make them interactive. So click here, go there, click there, go there. And you can show that to people in person on your phone, or you could do a video call with them and screen share and talk through. So it can be random people, co-workers, friends, long-suffering family, people like that. Getting any kind of feedback is better than getting no feedback. Ideally, it's your target audience. And I'll go on to how to get your target audience now. The one I like to do, because I don't love talking to people randomly on the street about my ideas, is to either use Loom, a great tool as well, or Video Ask, to effectively record myself going through the sketch or the prototype or whatever it is and ask for feedback. Now, again, you can go to your network for that or LinkedIn, or you can use Google Survey 360 or SurveyMonkey that have got an audience function where you can effectively, you can buy responses. And if you just say, yeah, I want responses from anyone from the age of 20 to 40, that's cheap. That would be 10 pence per response. When you start really refining down, I would like mothers between the age of 30 and 40 who live in London, it becomes more expensive per response. But bearing in mind that you're just getting 5 people to do a proper feedback session to you, you get 80% of the feedback. It's very, very well worthwhile to invest money into that. So if you're not able to do that yourself, I strongly suggest that you get something like Google Survey 360 or SurveyMonkey to help you get that feedback. Again, all of this is driving towards when you speak to investors, how can you demonstrate that you've done the process properly? You're de-risking. Let's talk about fundraising. Investors like to go on a journey with you. Ideally, you want to get the right funding and have the right take for the right stage and the right investors for the right stage. So if I go into that, okay, this is what we do in my main business, Happy Ventures. We go from early stage of validating the idea, getting the business model together, prototype and testing. So this is a real validation early stage. Then you go into the MVP, the building. Maybe you haven't quite built it right, so you did the version 1.1 because you launched and you realize it's not quite what people wanted. Then you do a bigger rebuild, and then you scale. Now, depending on when you get the investment, is the cost of that investment in terms of equity. If you get investment super early stage, right, for you to get 100 grand investment, might end up costing you half of your business. If you're to get 100 grand investment when you're over here somewhere, that might just cost you 5 to 10% of your business. Right? So if you're able as an individual to self-fund, at least to this point here, to the prototype and testing, ideally to an MVP stage, that's when you probably get the best value for money for your investment. However, it's also good to note that everything I've talked about until now, if you apply those principles, you will be able to get the best value for your investment, if that makes sense. I'll show you a couple of examples now. These are 2 businesses I've launched. HNS is health and safety related data, Internet of Things, which we saw during COVID. We did this one based on, so we raised the investment when we got to the low fidelity wireframes stage, and we had pre-sold is a big term. We had strategic partners on board, insurance companies in that case, who were excited by the concept, excited enough to give us a letter of intent. And we had a couple of people like that. So I think it's really interesting to think, right take, right stage, you're able to, at this stage here, with very low investment, get some investment from third parties at a reasonable valuation. So I can't really share the exact numbers, but it was a 6-figure raise for a 7-figure valuation, just about. But that's a low fidelity wireframe stage. So if you're not able to financially support all the way through, then if you've done the process correctly, like I've described thus far, you can really get meaningful investment at a good valuation. Now, I've put the costs of the different stages, just high-level cost that we charge for some clients. Another startup, now I've launched this one more recently and raised investment called Send Life, which basically helps parents who have children with autism or ADHD. So if any of you have a personal connection with this, I'd love to have a chat separately. We got to a point where we had a low-code prototype. We'd done a lot of this, a lot of validating, talking to partners, and we hadn't got any traction or revenue, but we got to a low-code prototype, and that's where we raised our investment. Again, having done the process correctly and warmed up investors, because that's the key thing. I see too often people doing outreach on LinkedIn or just saying, I need investment now. It's much better if you find strategic investors and you talk to them early days in the conversation. I'm starting this, I'm thinking about doing that. What do you think? Looking to the investors as the experts in that subject matter, ideally. Then you bring them on that journey to show the progress that you've made, create your own little newsletter around this, just update them as stakeholder in your journey, in your business. It's much better when it comes to saying, look, we're going to do a funding round. yeah, we'd love to have a chat with you about that. Yeah, see if you can help in some way. Brilliant. Much easier. Hopefully that makes sense as a slide, but it's if you can self-fund to this kind of level, get some kind of launch going, then you're in a really good position to get the best value for money on the investment side. And the final thing to note is in terms of the potential investor types, I would look at this as a rough guide, we'll say. In red is the harder stages to raise, and it gets easier in theory. So if you're in an idea stage, you have no revenue, it will tend to be that you raise money from friends and family. It might be a small amount, pre-seed. If you build the product, no revenue, it'll be friends and family, and the third F is fools, but let's just call them angels. And that's your kind of SEIS type raise, which has now gone to 250. But people are investing in you at that stage as an individual. They're investing in the potential of it. But also, ideally, if you've done the process right, like I've described, they'll believe in you a lot more in that process and the potential for it, because you have de-risked the build, you have de-risked the launch, and you have validation on all these aspects. If you have early customers, some MRR is monthly recurring revenue. You're probably talking angels or crowdfunding, and this kind of amounts. If I pop down a little bit, what people tend to see is, oh, I want to raise money with VCs. Now, VCs, some of them, or actually a lot of them, say they're early stage investors. Early stage, but what they really want is minimum £10,000 per month monthly recurring revenue. And ideally, they want to have multiple channels. So if you remember in the Brian Balfour slide I showed, the channel to market, at least one channel that works, but ideally multiple. And the investment is more by scaling, and it's about improving operations to scale. That's what they're looking for. So I wouldn't waste too much time on VCs. I think really getting the story right for angels, showing them that you've done the right process, gets you to a good place. And that is actually all my slides. So I will stop sharing and say if you have any questions, please throw them in the chat. If you don't have any questions, thank you very much. And I can be found on appyventures.com, appyventures.com. Oh, you're writing one. We'll wait for you, Joshua. I feel like I went through this one quite fast, but hopefully it was clear. Michelle, yeah, that would be great to have a chat about that. Yes, absolutely. My email is in the presentation. Actually, I'll put it in here. Patrice Ventures. Yeah, we're trying to do a lot of good with that technology, and we follow the process that we talked about as well, Michelle, of really doing user testing and validation. We also have a neurodiverse child, so thank you, Chloe. So yeah, we follow that proper process, and now we are live with some technology. It's called Send Life, and I can talk to you through directly. Joshua, what does multiple channels mean? I'm creating an educational app. The revenue will be in-app purchases. How can I diversify about new streams? So the channels is it's the route to market. So it can either be, I'll give you an example. So educational app, you could literally have an advert on the App Store, direct to that, or you can have an advert in Facebook that takes you to, say, a landing page where you tell a little bit more the benefits, and then try to capture the email address, put them into an email sequence, some kind of funnel, to try and get them to download the app. That's a channel. Or it could be picking up the phone to somebody and trying to sell, for example. So that's a channel. What I tend to see is you can get pretty good at one channel, and that's fine, but there's a risk that channel doesn't work. So a good friend of mine had a lovely, really, really nice, he had a very nice content business, SEO, and his channel was organic search. Now you can imagine what happened with AI. It got decimated and went from I think it was about 100 grand revenue per month to, yeah, a fraction of that. His channel changed and didn't work. So VC, what they like is to see that you have one channel that's repeatable. You've got a customer acquisition cost for that channel that's really nailed down. So for example, there's somebody else I know who's got a SaaS business, £2 per email acquired email. That's not necessarily a customer. His conversion rate after that means that I think a customer for him is about £20, which is okay. So that's okay because his monthly cost for his business, I think is £20 exactly. So his return on investment, yes, yeah, okay, Joshua, you you get it. So they want multiple ways to acquire it. I think that's really important because it just de-risks the model. Revenue will be in-app purchases. How can I diversify income revenue? Yeah, it's a funny one. For a long time, in-app revenue. So the apps were very much you paid for them, then they became free but supported with adverts. Now it's really moved to subscription type model. If you can have subscription, great, but it might be something that we want to talk more directly about, Joshua, because what you can also do is you can look to broaden the offering. I see a lot of people go for, I've just got this one price, but there's something good about broadening the offering in terms I can sell monthly, I can sell annual, I can sell a lifetime, or you start adding additional services to just change a little bit the pricing point from just the standard. But again, without knowing the exact situation for your educational app, it's a bit difficult to know. Any other questions? There you go. Yeah, I'll follow up, Joshua. No problems. Any other questions? Otherwise, I will wish you a very good day and a good lunchtime.